gathering and welcoming, and collecting and settling. Reconnecting with the sense of wishing ourselves well, wishing this being well, wishing to understand this impulse, human impulse, this life impulse of well-wishing, which is deeper than even the wish to understand. This now, this here, this place, this time. This experience, this given experience, this attention given, this experience received. This opportunity reconnecting, recollecting, welcoming, the gift of life to life, the breath received, the regrets, the memories, the hopes and expectations released. This moment, this experience, noticing the experiences or the memories or the fears or the physical sensations that are particularly strong and demanding attention, and those that are soft, unnoticed, in the context, in the space, in the silence. This space, this time, this now, this here. And this knowing, this knowing of this knowing. The bodily experience is a reference, a sense of settling in the physical. And the breath, the rhythm, and the knowing. And gift of attention. And gift of life to life. And sustaining and collecting the energy of that. And clarity of that. And the confidence in that. Whatever is in this knowing. In this now, this here. In the stillness. In the silence. In space. in this well-wishing. And through the body, and with the breath, the actual experience. Given attention, just giving time for this settling and this welcoming, giving space in this now and here, and giving attention. Receiving experience, releasing memories, projections, in this now and here. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. Thank you. I've this opportunity to share that now and here through different time zones in different places in this place and time. It's like this, and this is what we've got. And how it's going to turn out or what it's going to be, we don't know. What memories we have of how it was, different, changing, uncertain. And this sense of thank you or thanks is I feel it's an expression of one of the Brahma Viharas, of course, because the Brahma Viharas and the natural response of a heart free from ignorance. This is the way that it's described. This is the way that Portugal teaches about it. It's the way that it's described in the chart Metta Sahakatena Cetasa Ekang Disang Paritava Viharati. No, this is the description. And it's useful as a reflection, and that we have it as the description is something to know and something to say thank you for. Because this is what we've got. Where does it all come from? To a great extent, we've got no idea. People are concerned whether all the scriptures were actually from the Buddha or were they from somebody else, or how do they all get together? And it's useful and good that scholars have opinions and views about it. And we can be sure that we don't know. That's a start. And what we do receive or what we do hear or what we do read, and in listening to something like this, we can know, how do we use this so that it leads to or is less stressful now and in the future. This is the expression of compassion. again, the expression of a heart free from ignorance. And this natural experience. Now, one of the ways that sometimes the Ajahn Chah and others describe the enlightened mind is actually normal. And that's helpful. You know, some of the old translations translate the Dhamma as the norm. The, you know, the like how things are if things are working normally. And that's a useful reflection, I find. You know, so I think the term is bokati. This is I'm not sure that my pronunciation's right, but that's that sense of freedom, right? Normal. And I prefer that as a definition or as a reflection or as a standard than just being able to cope or just being able to fit in with society or to cope with society, or just about. No, because there's the way that the society is, the way the conditioning is as it is. And it's understandable as causes and conditions. And certainly, that's the way that it's worked out. But if one's, if the measure of what the standard for normal behavior is some of the crazy things that happen, then I prefer not to use it. It's how does one, what does that do to me if I feel that that the way of greed and of hatred and of jealousy and fear, if I feel that that's normal behavior, it's not unexpected behavior, that's true. But I don't have to make the assumption that that's normal behavior. I can assume that it's out of balance. I can assume that actually beings do wish other beings well, and they wish themselves well. They're just deeply confused about what that might be and how that might be. And I don't, and then people say, well, why didn't you just try to convince everybody that? But that's another, that's not, that's the whole thing is trying to convince everybody that I'm right and everybody else is wrong. That just puts pressure on everybody. Not much pressure because I don't have that sort of power, but at least I can recognize that when people try to convince me that they're right and everybody else is wrong, that they're right and I'm wrong, I know how I feel. And yeah, I can say thank you. Thank you for your opinions. And but at least you're not trying to torture me. And so in reflecting like this in this time and space now and here, yes, I can offer something that may be for some of you some of the time, and that's your particular time and space. The sense of, well, what is normal? What is freedom from ignorance? What is real insight? How does that work? And the knowing that one doesn't know is part of it. The knowing of this, the limitation of this, that this is what I can experience in this time, in this space. It's focused on this thing. And yes, there may be capacities that I am not yet aware of that can be exercised or realized and gained. And this is the spiritual faculties. These can be exercised, strengthened until their powers. Faculties of confidence, faculties of the energy and to keep going, to stop doing things that are unwholesome. The faculty of the balance of the attention that can be given, that knows this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it and this is working in this way. So it's sustaining the energy. This the samadhi of the faculty of samadhi is a sustaining energy and a freedom from the hindrances through wisdom. Through wisdom of understanding of this is what needs to be done. This is how to relate. And there's a gratitude for this opportunity. And I thank you for this opportunity. So, because we act physically, we act verbally. We act, through intention, through thought. Somebody's translated as acting emotionally. I'm not sure. That's it's a funny way, because the emotions that I've talked about are the maturing emotions, or the emotions that act towards to give maturity. Because normal behavior is mature behavior. It's not immature. the tantrum throwing that we see in kids because of not really understanding what is happening, which is perfectly understandable in children. And certainly we can see it in our own hearts sometimes, that sense of throwing a tantrum or getting caught in emotions or whatever. But the maturing emotions are the Brahmaviharas. They're the natural emotions. But the way that it's usually talked about is thought. One acts through body, speech, and mind. And that's where the karma is made. And the most powerful of those is, of course, the mind, because that drives the rest. The most habitual, maybe, is the body, or the most animal, maybe. That's an animal body. And that just works the way that the animal body works and that, of course, affects the mind, and it's the mind and the body, or the body and the mind. Is again a conundrum into which there's no real answer. Because all of this is just made up stuff, and the insight is that it is just made up stuff. It's just made up stuff, come together due to causes and conditions. And this is the upekkha, that oversees it and then can act with a sense of thank you, because this is how it is. Thank you, because this then gives the opportunity to think, to speak, to act in ways that can actually reduce suffering now and in the future. And there's nothing needed to be pushed away. It's all just like this. And this is what this is where the human realm is right now and here. And that we do have the capacity to act mentally, and we do have the capacity to train. That humans can train themselves. They can, give attention. They can know what is happening and why it's happening and what the motivation is behind it in this moment. And they can know the limits of that knowing as well. They can know that they don't know. That they don't know because it's uncertain. That, thought is around uncertainty. And thought-based knowledge is thought-based knowledge. It's stuck in this time and this place. The memories are in this time and this place. The relationship to the memories, that can be changed now and here. In the future, it's just what it is, what it's going to be, and what it's going to be we can know we don't know. Because it's not up Now, this knowing of this particular time and place is this. I don't, the capacity to move through time and space, limited in terms of we can only ever, this experience can only be ever here and now. The knowing is just the knowing. So, and then that urge, compulsion, what's next? What's next? I just do this. What's next? What's the next installment? What's the next thing I can do? I need to be sure what the next thing will be, and I want to know what the next thing will be. And I just want to go on to the next thing because it might be more. The feeding of that sense of inadequacy, that habit of becoming. It's not wrong to aspire to understand. And but the compulsion to accumulate is, that it's the same sort of ways one tries to accumulate things. It's a materialism of sort. Accumulate. People do it for accumulating knowledge, or they accumulate experience. They try to find, the best place to practice, or the best thing to practice, or the next place to go. Or they think, if I just get more of this, then I'll do it, and then I'll understand better. And feeling this sense of this thing can't really understand enough, it needs more. And one can say, well, that's like a sense of urgency. This is, I can justify this. It's urgent. I do need to know. But it's not through, no, particularly nowadays, it's not through accumulating more information. The great God Google will give you more than enough information. And it's not going to, information is not going to work. Or it'll even give you, experience of a sort, the next guided meditation. That then I'll experience the proper, I'll feel what it's like to be enlightened. No, the next one, oh, that chanting, that was so lovely. If I could just have more of that. And this is the buzz, the seeking of that. It always falls a bit flat, actually. But it's not, and even that's not wrong, because that's just how it is. But it is the urge to become, and becoming is birth and birth. If you want to know why everybody dies and suffers, or if there's any suffering or death in the world, then it's because birth. But I want to stop birth. Come back to the sense of it's okay. I can do this now. I can work with this now. This is going to have to be enough. How can I relate to it so that I gain the blessing and don't get caught in the danger of all this information and possibility to become? And this is the whole of the Tripitaka. Tripitaka's 3 baskets. I don't know quite why, but the Tripitaka begins with the Vinaya Pitaka, actually. And from that's where I started reading. I started reading the Mahavagga because I didn't know anything about Buddhism. Really. I hadn't read very much, and the Mahavagga was where I started. And that's about behavior, and it's very human. The Vinaya Pitaka is just ordinary folk trying to train themselves to behave in a normal manner and polite manner. And it describes the first 3 sermons, sets the tone for things, and the first 3 sermons are certainly enough. They're in the Vinaya Pitaka, there they are. And then the Sutta Pitaka, all sorts of things. Mostly from the Lord Buddha, some remembered by others and some talked about by others. Mostly the Lord Buddha. And then the Abhidhamma, the analysis, the suttas. And then all the arguments about which one's which and who's which, and there are different recollections from different people, different schools. Which one's more important, which one's less important. They do tend to agree on the 4 Noble Truths. They do tend to agree on the 4 Noble Truths, and that's a help. It gives some confidence. And certainly for me, that's, with Lumpur Sumedho and Ajahn Chah, that's been where I've come back to. And this answering of the question of what's the noble and worthwhile relationship to life? What gives life value? What makes it worthwhile? Where is there the place for a sense of gratitude and thank you? Understanding there is dukkha. Understanding dukkha in all its stresses and forms and permutations. Infinite colors and shapes and sounds. Dukkha is like this. There's no need to get rid of it. Absolutely no need to get rid of it. The relationship is to understand it. What can be abandoned is the cause. That can be abandoned, and that abandonment of that sense of the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Abandon the cause of further dukkha. Because this is the only place you're going to be. This is the time. This is the space. This is the now. This is the here. And it's like this. And it is dukkha. There is dukkha. It has a cause. Where does it end? Can one make that real? Where does time and space end? And allowing that to be something that is real, realized. And what to do? Practice the Eightfold Path. No, practice the Eightfold Way. Practice all aspects of it. And there's a sense of gratitude that is so clearly delineated as just enough. Just enough. The heart knowing the heart. The sense of knowing the sense of knowing is practicing the path. And the result is where stress ends. The heart going out. There's the next thing. Oh, I need to push this away. I need to get rid of that. That's the cause. And the result is more dukkha, more stress. So this is what we can do. And this is some reflection or some idea or some hope or some instruction, and maybe that's enough for today. And then if there are more questions, I'll try and answer. There's another couple of questions that have been written down, and we'll go from here. But for now, A1. Okay. First of all, there's a question about suicide. Not a good idea. Short answer. There are a few essays about it, and there's a couple of instances in the scriptures. There are talked about, and there are discussions about it. And maybe it's not as simple as it seems, but on the whole, suicide is dangerous, and it's not a good idea. So I don't recommend it. And this whole business of, and certainly for monks, if they encourage suicide, or as it's euphemistically called nowadays, voluntary euthanasia, if they expect or hope or intend that somebody act on that, and somebody does act on that, then they are no longer a monk. So it's not something that I can ever condone or recommend or suggest to somebody, because then if somebody does act on that, even though I don't really know about it, I'm no longer a monk, so I can't recommend that. I usually talk to people after somebody they know has committed suicide, and I've certainly known people who have committed suicide, and it's not, causes and conditions are causes and conditions, but it's not something I ever recommend. And do they go to hell? I've got no. Where is heaven? Where is hell? And the recent emails from Reading Faithfully, you can put the link up if you like. Kamala Suzui, you can put the link up if you like for Reading Faithfully. The recent ones have all been about hell realms and stuff like that, so they've been quite heavy. Because the hell realms of Buddhism are pretty heavy. There's more description they're more descriptive than some of the Christian hell realms, but maybe they aren't, I don't know. But at least they're all impermanent, so they're not permanent, so that's good. And yeah. And the Heart Sutra speaks by not insisting on fixed views. How can we reconcile the need to protect our interests and avoid being harmed in challenging situations with the Buddhist teaching that encourages us to cultivate detachment from opinions and ideas? I think it's okay to figure out what protecting one's interests really means. And I don't suggest to people that they just try to be intimidated into being so spiritual that they just give in to everything that people ask them to do, and people blame them for not detaching them from stuff. I feel it's okay to call the police, defend one's self, um, in a situation, but not to intentionally try to kill somebody. Can't condone that. I'm not really sure and you just don't know how you're going to be in a particular situation. And I've just no idea for that. No, I think it depends on people. I mean, there's stories of Tibetan monks being imprisoned and tortured and then coming and being released and saying that their greatest fear was that they would hate their jailers and their torturers. And that's a pretty good example or statement, because hatred never ceased by hatred. Hatred never ceased by hatred. That's what we can do. How to keep right intention, samma sankappa, right thought, and not forget about it during the day. Well, samma sankappa is not intending to indulge, not intending to harm, and not dwelling in hatred. And how to keep it through the day, come into the body, and practice samasati, practice reflecting on and yoniso manasikara, figuring out, what's the best way to relate to this situation, and giving yourself time and attention to do this, and not being embarrassed or ashamed about the goodness of your life, thanking yourself for the goodness of your life, remembering the goodness that you have done, the work that you have done. And it's okay, because if there's a diligence and a care about things can turn out well. And that's good. That's good. Don't forget to remember the goodness of your life and the fact that you have the opportunity to do good and skillful things. A sense of gratitude really helps. My message is not about any of the countless doubts I have. And of course, I wish to express my gratitude for your teaching, but the main reason for this message is to share with you all the wonderful experiences I had this month. Okay. Somebody had a good time. Thank you very much. JXV. Good. Wonderful. Thank you. Countless doubts are all right. That's the knowing that one doesn't know. And that doubt is a great space, actually. It's a spacious place to live. The sense of, I don't know whether to go forward, I don't know whether to go backwards. I can't stand still. Can't go forwards, can't go backwards, can't stand still. Don't even live there. And that's okay. Yeah? The sense of not. It's okay not to be sure, because actually that's the truth. It's the truth. What happens next is not sure. Do I recommend reading the Mahabharata? Where do time and space and thinking end? Is that where Arahant? Don't know. You know, it's where does time, space, and thinking end? Is that where arahantship is attained? It's there are ideas, and to allow it to be something that allows this whole thing to be taken less personally, and yet still treat it with care. Still treat what you say, what you do, what you think with care. It's not to be careless about stuff, but to do the best one can, and to think, well, what I can do and what is happening is absolutely stunning and amazing. Now, that such a thing as this can exist right here and right now is really weird. Come on, it's not the way that you'd have expected 10 years ago. This is, and yet we sort of take it for granted and complain if the internet's down for half a second, and panic. And yet we don't actually notice that these things are possible. We live in an absolutely stunning time, and these beings here that are doing this at this time and space are incredibly privileged. Absolutely stunningly privileged. Oh, but I'm suffering so much. My knee hurts. My life is terrible. Everything's going wrong. And this is just, listen to that moan and then think, nah, really, this is a privileged time. We're okay. Thank you very much. And this is probably the last time for a while. Okay.